Hi, my name's Ingemar Hunnings. I am a consultant and lead consultant and founder at Hunnings Consultancy. And I want to talk today about in-house legal, the SQE, QWE, and SQE exemptions. So this cuts across lots of the other videos that we've done just to focus on things with regard to in-house legal. So the first point to make is that the SRA is quite relaxed about people delivering legal services in companies, organizations as in-house legal. This varies from some other jurisdictions where you have to deregister as a lawyer if you're going to work in-house. So the SRA says, no, you're providing legal services. This is really important. And they have many SRA regulated solicitors working in-house. Okay, so that's the first point. So it's totally valid. The SQE, of course, being the way to qualify as a solicitor of England and Wales, which has superseded the LPC route. Okay, so it's possible to qualify and be a qualified solicitor working in-house, which is good news. Now, under the SQE route, you have to have a degree or degree equivalent. You have to pass the exams, the SQE1, the SQE2. You have to have at least 2 years full-time equivalent qualifying work experience confirmed to the SRA by an SRA regulated solicitor. And then you need to do the usual things about proving your ID, DBS checks, and things that the SRA does with you at the point of admission. Now, certain exemptions may apply in different circumstances. So I will take the situation of someone who is not a qualified lawyer, first of all, and then I'll move on to deal with those people who are already qualified as a lawyer in some jurisdiction. So first of all, someone who's not qualified, but doing legal work in-house, in a company, for example, or in some organization, could be a charity or part of the government. You're working in-house, your employer is effectively your client. So qualifying work experience, you will have to have at least 2 years full-time equivalent confirmed to the SRA. So there are some definitions about what is full-time. That full-time is not defined by the SRA. They've left it up to the judgment of the confirming solicitor as to what they regard as full-time. So probably best if we were to have a consultation to talk things through. I always offer a free consultation to make sure I'm happy with doing the confirmation and talking through your situation, your circumstances. So that also involves me finding out whether I believe what you've been doing is qualifying work experience. Now, qualifying work experience is defined by the SRA as the provision of legal services. And then they go on to say that it does not have to be done in a law firm. It does not have to be done in English and Welsh law. It does not have to be done in England and Wales. It could be voluntary, although as in-house legal, that's probably not the situation for you. You can reach back in time as far as you want, and you can ask an external solicitor to do the confirmation. And this is where I come in to help many people, acting as an external confirming solicitor. Now, where you're using an external solicitor to do the confirmation, and this is the circumstances are usually that you don't have a solicitor in your organization to do the confirmation, so people reach out to us to ask me to help. So where I'm acting as an external confirming solicitor, the SRA requires us to do more in the confirmation. So they require me to confirm that I have reviewed, therefore seen the work, which I go through with you in a detailed Zoom call, usually about an hour and a half long, going through your work. And also, I've got feedback from your supervisor. Your supervisor doesn't have to be a solicitor, just someone who supervised you and your work. Okay, so I get feedback from them through a Zoom chat, that sort of thing. So if you're working in-house, you're not qualified, you can reach out to us and get your QWE confirmed, because we will act as external confirming solicitors. We tend to use Zoom or we can use Teams to do that. Okay. Exams, you've got to pass those. There you go. Now, if you are already qualified as a lawyer somewhere, you will automatically, in nearly all circumstances, be exempt from the QWE requirement. But that's only if you're already a qualified lawyer. And it will be open to you to apply for an exemption from the SQE2 exam. Now, What you need to do is going to vary a little bit depending upon where you have qualified. So there's an application form, and you would normally have to fill in sections 1, 2, 3, 4B, and 7. 4A is only applicable if you have been granted an exemption automatically, an agreed exemption as it's called, by the SRA. There are a few countries who have that. Brazil is one, so there's not many of them. Then you would need to fill in sections 1, 2, 3, and 4A, and that's it. If you are qualified in a jurisdiction where you qualified purely because you have passed your law degree, and then you would need to take further exams to become an advocate or advocate, then the situation is a little bit more complex. Or indeed, if you are qualified, let's say in England as a licensed conveyancer, so your qualification does not give you the ability in section 2 of the application form to say, yes, your qualification gives you all of those practice rights. Then you will be in a situation where you need to also fill in section 8 of the form, which involves a careful mapping of your skills and experience against competencies. So there's a lot more work to be done. We don't help with the completion of section 8, but we help with all the rest of it. Now, what you would also need to do and submit, unless you have an agreed exemption, or unless your qualification had as a mandatory part of it all of the 2 years legal work experience, which is the case if you are qualified in South Africa, for example. But if that's not the case, what you will have to have is a certain period of post-qualification legal work experience, which needs to be evidenced to the SRA. And how long that period is will depend upon the circumstances of your qualifications. So in some countries, it's 6 months, some countries, it's 24 months, other countries, it's 18 months. So it will vary jurisdiction by jurisdiction from where your qualification is. Now, the proof is going to be a letter of reference that your supervisor needs to sign. I guess you'll draft it, and it needs to have certain elements in there required by the SRA. It needs to be on headed paper and various other things like that. And you would need to have a letter of reference to cover the whole period that is required by the SRA. So if it's, like, let's say, 18 months and you're working in one organization for 12 and another for 12, then that will cover the 18 months and you would need 2 letters of reference. So we help with providing a very simple template and then reviewing the letter that you drafted before you send it off to your supervisor, as well as your application, and then reminding you what else needs to go with your application through to the SRA. The other things you need to send would be obviously the SRA fee, proof of your qualification. It could be a certificate of good standing, or it could just be proof of your qualifications, your certificate of being admitted to your local bar. And you would need to do the same for your supervisor as well. So the proof of their qualification, assuming that they are a lawyer. If they're not, you need to explain how, in the letter of reference, how they were suitable to supervise your work. And the supervisor, by the way, needs to be someone who directly supervised your work. And in the letter of reference, you'll need to write out for them how they actually supervised your work. So he can't be just someone who was a nominal supervisor and didn't actually ever see your work. So some people may come to the situation having passed the LPC, which you could trade in for an exemption from the SQE1 exam. The SRA seems to be very reluctant, as in won't agree to, granting an exemption from both the SQE1 and the SQE2. So it ends up being a choice there. Okay. Now, some people find they have to take an English language competency test for the SRA. If you have sat and passed the SQE1 and got an exemption from the SQE2, then the SRA may ask you to do this if you're a foreign qualified lawyer, because they want to make sure that you are competent in the English language and they've not seen you writing out things in the SQE2 exam. If you're competent in the English language, that should be no problem. The SRA will tell you what they need you to do and such like. So one final thing I would say with regard to in-house legal, particularly talking about people overseas, I guess, but it could apply to within the UK as well, It may be that, well, it will be that the SRA wants you to prove your identity. They use Atlantic data currently. I'm recording this in April 2025. And you have to prove that in front of a solicitor, as far as I understand it. Some people find that they don't have an SRA regulated solicitor that they can use. We do have a service that we put together to be able to do this online through Zoom. And we've done this for a number of people. So that's been something we put together just because people have asked for it, so that you don't get stuck at that stage. I'm just going to share my screen and show you part of our website, Honey's Consultancy, where we have services here, which I've been talking about, the QWE, External Confirming Solicitor Service, SQE2 exemptions, lots of information on there, and the ID verification, which I was just talking about there. So if you want to get in touch with us, then you'll see there's a form there. You can fill that in better than calling me, because I may not be able to take the call. Obviously, you can email as well, whichever way. Just give us as much information as possible, and then we can help you. So I hope that's of help to you and made things a little clearer. And so please do get in touch. Oh, by the way, also, I would mention that we have a YouTube channel. So we have many videos on here about the SQE, QWE, and exemptions, playlists of those things in there. So the pink ones are to do with SQE, QWE, and exemptions. Oh yeah, a little point here for Italian avocados. The SRA had confirmed that you don't have to re-register as a lawyer with your local bar, giving up your job in-house in order to proceed. They will accept the fact that you were a lawyer and registered, and you're just working in-house now. So that's fine. So lots of videos there which may be of help to you. Alex Consultancy, please do subscribe so that you receive new ones and let other people know. I hope that's of help to you, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.